The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a new bill aimed at curbing China's growing influence in the electric vehicle market. The bill, titled the End Chinese Dominance of Electric Vehicles in America Act, seeks to limit the use of U.S. tax credits by Chinese EV manufacturers. This legislation reflects growing concerns among lawmakers about China's dominance in the global EV supply chain. It also highlights the partisan divide over how to best promote the growth of the American EV industry. The bill's passage marks a significant development in the ongoing competition between the U.S. and China in the race towards electric mobility. It signals a shift in U.S. policy towards a more confrontational approach with China on economic and technological matters. The bill's future remains uncertain, as it still needs to pass the Senate and be signed into law by President Biden. The bill, introduced by Republicans, is seen as a direct challenge to President Biden's ambitious EV agenda. Republicans have criticized Biden's approach, arguing that it gives China an unfair advantage in the U.S. market. They argue that Biden's policies, such as tax credits for EV purchases, have loopholes that Chinese companies are exploiting. Republicans have also expressed concerns about the national security implications of relying too heavily on China for critical EV components. They argue that the U.S. needs to develop its own domestic supply chain to ensure its economic and strategic independence. This bill is part of a broader Republican effort to push back against Biden's climate change and clean energy initiatives. Supporters of the bill argue that it is necessary to level the playing field for American EV manufacturers. They contend that Chinese companies benefit from unfair trade practices, government subsidies, and lax environmental regulations. These advantages, they say, allow Chinese companies to undercut American competitors and gain market share. Supporters also point to China's poor record on human rights and intellectual property theft as reasons to be wary of its growing influence in the EV sector. They believe that the U.S. should not be supporting an industry that is complicit in these practices. By restricting Chinese access to U.S. tax credits, they hope to incentivize American companies to invest more in domestic EV production. Section 4. Critics' concerns: disrupting progress and raising costs. Critics of the bill, primarily Democrats, argue that it will stifle innovation and raise costs for consumers. They contend that the bill will disrupt the existing EV supply chain, which relies heavily on components from China. This disruption, they say, will lead to higher prices for electric vehicles, making them less affordable for American consumers. Critics also argue that the bill will harm the American economy by discouraging investment in the EV sector. They point out that many American companies rely on Chinese suppliers for EV components. Restricting access to these suppliers, they say, will hurt these companies and slow down the growth of the American EV industry. Section 5. Potential impact: shaping the future of the U.S. EV market. The bill's passage in the House has sent shockwaves through the U.S. EV industry. If passed by the Senate and signed into law, it could have significant implications for the future of electric mobility in America. The bill's impact will depend on how it is implemented and enforced. One potential outcome is that it could lead to a bifurcation of the EV market, with American and Chinese companies operating in separate spheres. This could result in higher prices and less choice for consumers. Alternatively, the bill could incentivize American companies to invest more in domestic EV production, leading to job creation and economic growth. Section 6. Conclusion: a partisan battle over America's electric future. The House passage of the End Chinese Dominance of Electric Vehicles in America Act reflects the growing partisan divide over how to address China's rise as an economic and technological superpower. It also highlights the challenges of balancing economic competitiveness with national security concerns. The bill's future remains uncertain, but its passage in the House is a clear signal that Republicans are willing to take a tough stance against China, even if it means challenging the Biden administration's agenda. The debate over this bill is likely to continue, reflecting the broader debate over the future of the U.S.-China relationship and America's place in the global economy.